In 2018, the WNBA operated in a much quieter environment. Arenas often felt empty, with players having direct personal interactions with the few fans in attendance. Today, that silence has been replaced by a consistent roar. The league has moved from the periphery of professional sports into the center of the cultural conversation, driven by a surge in interest that has recalibrated the entire industry. For decades, analysts argued that women's basketball required organic growth and decades of patience to reach the mainstream. That timeline was discarded when a player from Iowa arrived with a long-range shooting style that immediately changed the landscape. The league's transition into the mainstream did not happen gradually. It accelerated with an intensity that left some observers struggling to keep pace while others embraced the shift. This transition created immediate friction. During her first professional season, the tension was visible on the court. A highly publicized incident involving Chennedy Carter, who fouled her before a play began, became a focal point for discussions about the league's response to its newest star. It signaled a broader internal conflict, a league that benefited from unprecedented fame while grappling with the shift in dynamics that fame required. The narrative of professional envy was evidenced by the physical nature of the games and a series of flagrant fouls that followed her across the league. Established figures in the sport also contributed to the friction. Several retired players used media platforms to question the rookie's impact, sometimes offering inaccurate comparisons or critiques regarding her age and style of play. These disputes occasionally pitted legends against one another, such as when Nancy Lieberman publicly challenged the accuracy of certain claims. This was not merely a debate about basketball, it was a struggle over the league's identity and the sudden influx of attention. The tension extended to international play when the most popular athlete in the sport was left off the 2024 Olympic roster. Despite massive television ratings and global demand, the selection committee cited a lack of seniority. This decision sparked significant backlash from a loyal fan base and was later acknowledged by some officials as a missed opportunity. It represented a moment where traditional gatekeeping collided with the reality of modern sports business. Beyond the highlights, the Clark effect forced the league to address long-standing infrastructure issues. Previously, WNBA players traveled on commercial flights and navigated public airports, often facing security concerns. The sheer volume of fans following the new rookie made these conditions untenable. In response, the league allocated $50 million for charter flights, a move veterans had requested for 20 years, but one that only became a priority when the logistics of travel became a safety risk. The financial impact is most evident in the league's new media rights agreement. The WNBA recently secured a deal valued at approximately $2.2 billion, a figure that seemed unreachable only a few years ago. Networks are no longer investing in the potential of women's basketball. They are paying for the millions of viewers who tune in weekly. This revenue has provided the league with financial security for the next decade. Data from 2025 suggests this growth is sustainable. Even when facing injuries or the typical challenges of a long season, attendance figures have remained high. The initial surge of interest has transitioned into a genuine following for the sport as a whole. Fans who were initially drawn to one player have stayed to watch the rest of the league, recognizing the talent of the athletes they once viewed as adversaries. While critics continue to debate the causes of this shift, the results are undeniable. Arenas are filled, merchandise is sold out, and the WNBA has moved beyond the status of a developmental project to become a commercial powerhouse. The transformation of the league appears complete, and the trajectory suggests this is only the beginning. The transition of the WNBA from a niche athletic endeavor to a primary driver of sports media value represents a fundamental shift in how professional leagues are valued. For years, the conversation surrounding the league was framed through the lens of social responsibility or charitable investment. The sudden influx of viewers, catalyzed by a single player's arrival, has replaced that framework with a cold, data-driven business model. The $2.2 billion media deal is the primary evidence of this change. It is not an aspirational figure based on what the league might become. It is a direct response to the millions of people who demonstrated a willingness to watch. This capital ensures that the league can finally move away from a survivalist mindset and begin operating with the long-term stability that defined its male counterparts decades ago. This stability is most visible in the immediate overhaul of the league's logistics. The decision to spend $50 million on charter flights was a forced hand. For 20 years, players and fans had argued for better travel conditions based on the principles of professional standards and athlete health. Those arguments, while valid, did not move the needle for the league's board of governors. It was the Clark effect that changed the math. When a player's presence creates a security environment where commercial travel is no longer feasible, the infrastructure must adapt or risk a total operational collapse. The league did not find this money out of a renewed sense of fairness. It allocated the funds because the economic cost of a security incident or a logistical failure had become higher than the cost of the flights themselves. This shift from a request for better treatment to an operational requirement defines the new era of the WNBA. The friction that followed this growth was perhaps inevitable. When a professional environment that has existed in the shadows for 2 decades is suddenly illuminated, the people who inhabited that space often feel a sense of displacement. The welcome to the league moment involving Chennedy Carter was a physical representation of this internal struggle. The league was being pulled in 2 directions, toward the massive financial windfall brought by the new arrival and back toward the established hierarchy that had sustained the league through leaner years. The hostility seen on the court was not just about a single foul, it was about the disruption of a culture. The veteran players had spent years building a league with very little recognition, and the sudden arrival of a rookie who commanded the entirety of the national spotlight created a tension that could not be resolved with a simple handshake. This tension was further complicated by the public commentary from the game's legends. When Hall of Famers and established voices questioned the rookie's credentials, they were often defending their own legacies as much as they were critiquing her game. The claims regarding her age, her shooting volume, and her transition to the professional level were often at odds with the actual statistics. This created a scenario where the gatekeepers of the sport appeared to be actively working against its most successful commercial asset. The public disagreement between Nancy Lieberman and other analysts highlighted a growing divide within the basketball community. Some saw the new interest as a tide that would lift all boats, while others saw it as an unearned intrusion. This internal conflict reached its peak with the decision to leave the most popular player in the sport off the Olympic roster. It was a moment where the traditional selection process, rooted in seniority and earning your stripes, collided with the modern reality of sports as a global entertainment product. The decision to exclude her from the Paris Games was framed as a basketball decision, but it had significant business consequences. By leaving their most recognizable star at home, the selection committee ignored the massive demand for her presence on a global stage. While the team was successful on the court, the absence of the player who had tripled domestic television ratings was a significant missed opportunity for the sport's international growth. Even the eventual admission from committee members that they might have underestimated the impact of her absence suggests a realization that the old ways of managing the league's talent are no longer sufficient. The business of the WNBA now operates on a scale where traditional hierarchies are being overruled by market demand. The long-term health of the league, however, is not dependent solely on one person. The real impact is seen in the floor that has been established for the entire organization. The 2025 attendance data confirms that the interest has become systemic. While the hype may have brought people to the arena for the first time, the quality of the basketball has kept them there. These new fans have begun to recognize the skill of the entire player pool, including those who were initially cast as the villains in the narrative. This exposure has turned the WNBA into a platform where every player's market value has increased. The league is no longer a charity case that requires subsidized promotion. It is a powerhouse that commands primetime television slots and sellout crowds in major markets. The change in the league's reputation is also reflected in the way it is covered by the media. The days of patience and organic growth are over. The WNBA is now subjected to the same intense scrutiny and high-stakes analysis as any other major professional league. The debates over flagrant fouls, rookie rankings, and coaching decisions are now part of the daily sports cycle. This level of attention, while often controversial, is the ultimate sign of a league's maturity. People are no longer just supporting the league because they feel they should. They are engaging with it because it is compelling, competitive, and culturally relevant. As the league moves forward, the save that was once a topic of debate has become an established fact. The financial receipts, the television contracts, and the logistical upgrades all point to a league that has fundamentally changed its trajectory. The old guard may still harbor reservations about the speed of this transition, but the momentum is undeniable. The infrastructure of women's professional basketball has been permanently altered. The arenas remain packed, the jerseys continue to sell, and the billion-dollar deals are locked in for the next decade. The transition from a league trying to survive to a league that is thriving is complete. The current landscape suggests that the growth seen over the last few years is not a peak, but a new baseline for what is possible in professional sports. The financial ramifications extend beyond the league's central office and into the local economies of every city with a WNBA franchise. Arenas that once struggled to fill lower bowls are now seeing ticket demand that rivals established NBA teams. This increase in foot traffic has transformed the WNBA into a legitimate economic engine. Small businesses and vendors around these arenas are no longer seeing the WNBA season as a quiet period. They are seeing it as a primary source of revenue. This is the tangible result of a league that has finally aligned its talent with a marketing strategy that works. The Clark effect may have been the catalyst, but the result is a league-wide professionalization that has been decades in the making. Even the way players prepare for their careers has changed. The path from college to the professionals used to involve a significant drop in visibility and resources. Now, the momentum from a successful college career carries directly into the professional ranks, often with an increase in commercial opportunities. The 2025 season showed that the league can handle the transition of high-profile rookies without losing the interest of the broader public. This continuity is essential for the long-term viability of the sport. It ensures that the investment made by networks and sponsors will continue to pay off as new stars enter the league each year. The shift in player safety and travel standards is perhaps the most significant victory for the union and the players themselves. The $50 million for charter flights represents more than just comfort. It represents a commitment to the longevity of the athletes. For years, the physical toll of commercial travel was a constant complaint among veterans. By solving this problem, the league has signaled that it finally values its players as the elite athletes they are. This investment in the physical well-being of the roster will likely lead to longer careers and a higher level of play on the court, further increasing the value of the product. As the WNBA looks toward the future, the challenges it faces are no longer about whether the league will exist, but how it will manage its newfound success. The debates over expansion, salary caps, and revenue sharing are now the primary focus. These are the problems of a successful business, not a struggling one. The receipts are in, and they show a league that has successfully navigated its most volatile period of growth. The transition from the quiet of 2018 to the roar of 2025 is a testament to the power of a single moment meeting a league that was finally ready for its spotlight. The save is no longer a question of opinion, it is a matter of record. The WNBA has arrived, and its position in the professional sports landscape is secure. The cultural impact of this shift cannot be overstated, though it is the economic data that provides the most reliable evidence of the change. In years past, the organic growth model was often a euphemism for a lack of investment. By refusing to wait another 50 years for a slow build, the league has proved that the demand for women's basketball was always there. It simply lacked the right delivery system and the necessary investment in infrastructure. The arrival of a generational talent provided the spark, but it was the league's ability to capitalize on that spark that ensured the fire would continue to burn. The media rights deal, which runs for 11 years, provides a level of certainty that the WNBA has never before enjoyed. This long-term commitment from major networks like Disney, NBC, and Amazon demonstrates a belief that the current ratings are not a fluke, but the new standard. This capital allows the league to plan for expansion into new markets, knowing that the viewership will follow. The gatekeepers who once tried to limit the league's scope are now being replaced by executives who see the WNBA as a vital part of their programming strategy. In terms of the players themselves, the increased visibility has led to a more nuanced understanding of the game. Fans are no longer just watching for the deep threes. They are appreciating the passing of a point guard, the defensive intensity of a veteran forward, and the tactical nuances of the coaching staff. The villains and heroes of the initial narrative have become multidimensional figures in a professional landscape that is increasingly complex. This maturation of the fan base is the ultimate goal of any sports league. It moves the conversation away from the story and toward the competition itself. The 2025 season also highlighted the resilience of the league's popularity. When the initial novelty of the rookies' arrival began to settle, the attendance figures did not drop. Instead, they stabilized at a record-high level. This indicates that the Clark effect has successfully converted casual observers into dedicated fans of the sport. The floor of the league has been permanently raised. Even on nights when the stars are not playing their best, the arenas remain full and the television ratings remain strong. The WNBA is no longer dependent on a single highlight reel. It is a comprehensive professional product with a loyal and growing audience. The security and logistical upgrades that were once seen as a luxury are now the standard operating procedure. The league's commitment to charter flights and improved security has removed the amateur feel that often plagued the organization's travel schedules. This change has a direct impact on the quality of the games, as players are no longer arriving at arenas exhausted from the delays and difficulties of commercial travel. The investment in the players' well-being is paying dividends in the form of a more competitive and entertaining product on the court. The legacy of this era will likely be defined by the shift from advocacy to commerce. The WNBA spent its first quarter-century advocating for its right to exist and for its players to be treated with respect. In the last few years, that conversation has shifted toward the league's ability to generate revenue and provide a return on investment. This is a far more powerful position to be in. When a league is a charity case, its existence is always precarious. When a league is a powerhouse, its existence is guaranteed by the market itself. The transition to a commercial powerhouse is the real story of the modern WNBA. The critics who spoke of privilege or narratives are finding it increasingly difficult to argue with the facts. The jerseys are sold out not because of a narrative, but because people want to wear them. The arenas are packed not because of privilege, but because people want to be there. The billion-dollar deals are signed not because of a social movement, but because the numbers justify the investment. The WNBA has moved beyond the need for excuses. It is a legitimate, profitable, and highly entertaining professional league that has finally found its footing. As the league enters its next phase, the focus will remain on sustaining this growth. The save was the first step. The next step is the continued professionalization of every aspect of the organization. From the front offices to the training facilities, the standards are being raised to match the new expectations of the fans and the media. The WNBA is no longer a beat-up sedan trying to merge onto the highway. It is a high-performance machine that is leading the way for women's professional sports globally. The tires may have been smoking during the initial acceleration, but the league is now cruising at a speed that few thought was possible. The historical tension between the old guard and the new arrivals will eventually fade, replaced by a shared understanding that the league's success belongs to everyone involved. The legends who built the foundation and the rookies who brought the lights are all part of the same story. That story is one of a league that refused to stay in the shadows and instead forced its way into the sun. The roar that replaced the quiet of 2018 is here to stay, and it is the sound of a league that has finally realized its full potential. The journey from 2018 to 2025 was not just a change in ratings, it was a change in the literal fabric of the sport. The WNBA is now a permanent fixture of the global sports landscape, and its future has never been brighter. The surge in capital has triggered a fundamental reassessment of franchise valuations. In the early years of the league, expansion teams were often granted for relatively modest fees, sometimes as low as $10 million. Today, the price of entry into the WNBA has reached $200 million and continues to climb. The Golden State Valkyries, along with new franchises in Toronto and Portland, represent a new era of ownership. These are no longer secondary investments for NBA owners. They are standalone assets backed by private equity and major tech portfolios. The entry of high-capital ownership groups has forced a professionalization of front offices across the league. Teams are now investing in dedicated practice facilities, specialized medical staff, and advanced analytics departments, resources that were once considered luxuries but are now viewed as basic requirements for a competitive organization. This shift in valuation is inextricably linked to the changing profile of the incoming athlete. The transition from the collegiate level to the professional ranks has been streamlined by the evolution of name, image, and likeness, or NIL deals. For the first time, rookies are entering the league already established as global brands with multi-million-dollar endorsement portfolios. When the rookie class of 2024 arrived, they did not just bring their skills, they brought existing partnerships with corporations like Nike, State Farm, and Gatorade. This shifted the power dynamic between players and the league. The WNBA is no longer the sole provider of a player's platform. It is now a partner in a pre-existing business empire. This financial independence has given players more leverage in how they are marketed and how they manage their careers. The marketing of the league has also moved away from generic promotion and towards specific, data-backed rivalry narratives. While the tension between the new guard and the established veterans provided the initial spark, the sustained interest has been driven by the direct competition between peers. The rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, which began in the collegiate ranks, served as a primary narrative driver throughout the 2024 and 2025 seasons. This was not a creation of the media, but a reflection of consumer behavior. Data showed that games featuring these two players consistently outperformed other matchups in terms of ticket sales and television viewership. The league's ability to lean into these competitive storylines, rather than shying away from them, marked a departure from its traditional, more reserved approach to marketing. This increase in demand has exposed the limitations of the current broadcast infrastructure. For years, WNBA games were often relegated to secondary networks or streaming services with limited production value. The new media agreement has mandated a higher standard of broadcast quality. Networks are now deploying more cameras, more advanced graphics, and more experienced commentary teams to every game. The viewing experience now mirrors that of the NBA or the NFL, which in turn reinforces the league's status as a top-tier professional product. This professionalization of the broadcast is a key factor in retaining the millions of new viewers who were introduced to the sport during the 2024 season. If the production looks professional, the audience treats the sport with a corresponding level of seriousness. The economic success of the league has also set the stage for a critical period of labor negotiations. The current collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, was designed for a league with a different financial reality. With the massive influx of television revenue and the surge in ticket sales, players are now seeking a larger share of the basketball-related income. The upcoming negotiations will likely focus on significant increases in the salary cap, improved retirement benefits, and a more equitable distribution of the league's profits. The players understand their value is at an all-time high. and they are prepared to use that leverage to secure their financial futures. The Clark effect did more than just sell tickets. It provided the labor force with the data needed to demand a complete restructuring of the league's economic model. Internationally, the WNBA is beginning to exert a gravity that is reshaping global women's basketball. For decades, the best players in the world spent their off-seasons playing in lucrative European or Chinese leagues to supplement their WNBA salaries. As the domestic league salaries and endorsement opportunities increase, the necessity for year-round play is diminishing. This shift allows players to focus on recovery and skill development, leading to a higher quality of play during the WNBA season. Furthermore, the global visibility of the league has made it a primary destination for international talent. Scouts are now seeing a more direct pipeline from overseas academies to the WNBA, as the league's financial stability makes it the undisputed premier destination for the world's best athletes. The impact on local economies in Indiana, Chicago, and other major markets has been measurable. The Caitlin Clark economy in Indianapolis specifically saw a massive increase in downtown foot traffic on game nights. Hotels, restaurants, and retail outlets reported record revenues during the WNBA season, a period that was historically quiet in the city's sports calendar. This localized economic impact has made WNBA franchises attractive partners for municipal governments and developers. Cities are now competing for expansion teams, not just for the prestige of hosting a professional sports team, but for the tangible tax revenue and job creation that comes with a high-demand entertainment product. The resilience of this growth was tested in 2025, as the initial novelty began to fade. The data confirmed that the league had successfully moved past the fad stage. The sellout crowds in 2025 were not just there to see a single player, they were there to see the competition. Fans began to develop loyalties to teams and individual players across the entire league. This maturation of the fan base is the most significant indicator of the league's long-term health. The WNBA has established a self-sustaining ecosystem where the stars draw the crowd, but the quality of the entire league keeps them engaged. As the league looks toward the 2026 season and beyond, the focus has shifted to scaling the business to match the demand. This includes the potential for more games in the regular season, the exploration of larger permanent venues, and the continued expansion of the league's digital footprint. The WNBA is no longer operating in a defensive posture. It is aggressively pursuing market share and challenging the traditional hierarchies of professional sports. The decision to invest in itself through charter flights, better facilities, and higher production standards has been validated by the market. The narrative of privilege or unearned attention that dominated the early parts of the transition has largely been silenced by the sheer volume of the receipts. In a professional sports environment, the ultimate measure of success is the ability to generate revenue and command attention. By both metrics, the WNBA has moved into the upper tier of professional leagues. The old guard, while initially hesitant, has largely integrated into this new reality. The league's history and its future are no longer at odds. They are now part of a unified trajectory of growth. The transition is no longer a topic of debate. It is a permanent feature of the sports landscape. The save is complete, and the WNBA is now operating from a position of unprecedented strength.